Maybe. Good afternoon. Hello? Everybody hear me? Okay. Nobody said anything. So first let me give y'all, everybody knows we're here to do the workshop for the waterways ordinance dealing with boat launching. This is our third workshop for this, so hopefully we'll come up with some great ideas. As you can see, we have one commissioner in attendance, Commissioner Curry. Thank him for being here, but everybody needs to understand that he is here to observe. He's not here to answer any questions, comment, so he is here just to observe. So don't ask him questions, ask me or somebody else up here, so we'll be the ones responding to you. Like I said, he's just here to observe. Just to introduce a few people to you, on the computer over there we have Melanie Walters. She's with Beach Code. Kim Jones is our office manager out there. She keeps us all headed in the right direction. You got Danny Garner, our Beach Code manager. Cliff Hollington is a supervisor. My name's Tony Corman. I'm the director. We got Michael Gainey, who's the deputy director. Matt Algren with tourism, and Brian Kellenberger with beach ops. So hopefully if you have a question, we can get you an answer between all of us. So what we plan on doing is doing it like we do typical meetings. We're asking you to keep it to 3 minutes if you got something to say, so get to the point. Keep it at 3 minutes so everybody can get a chance to talk. I know we have at least one. Did we just have one on Zoom? So we have one on Zoom that we'll do. But other than that, I think we can get started, and hopefully we'll come up with some great ideas. When you do talk, we ask that you come up to the podium. I think the microphone is on. Is it on, Kim? Okay, the microphone is on, so try, if you need to pull it down to you, please pull it down and speak, because it's being recorded and all that, so we can go back and revisit it. So just make sure you speak into the microphone. Does anybody else up here got anything? All right, so just to go over a couple things that has already been discussed about it. As you know, we had discussed limiting the number of permits. We had started with that last year some, and then we moved into the ordinance as it is now, requiring the boat captain's license. So one of the options that we had talked about was limiting the number of permits that we issue. Another option that's been discussed is a possibility of, is anybody familiar with our beach driving lottery? Anybody know how that works, where we do a lottery? So, you know, long term, our plan is hopefully to have some more launching facilities and all that, but until then, in the short term, maybe do like a lottery for our boat launches. So when you apply, we would have a time that you apply, and then you know when it's your turn, you draw wherever and whatever launch you get picked. That would be your launch that you could operate out of. That would be a lottery type system. I'm not saying that that's the way we're doing it. I'm saying that's just an option that's been explored. So what we're here today is to explore some more options from each of y'all. So we're going to open it up to anybody that wants to come up and give us some good options. Who wants to be first? All right, well, we're going to close the meeting out. Oh, no, wait, we got one. Make sure you tell your name, and who you're with.
Hey, my name is Christian Bolden, and I'm just here today as a citizen. I live 2 blocks from Cessna Boat Ramp, which has caused, you know, most of the discussion with the boat ramp activity. First thing I'd like to say is last time I addressed you guys, we didn't know if we were going to get to speak on some of this. Well, I told you that I trusted the BCC would actually do the right thing. I've worked with the BCC on several other projects that we're trying to get in motion, and they've been amenable and care about the safety and improvement of things in our community. So I trusted that y'all are going to do the right thing here, and I thank you for having the workshop. It's a step in that direction, and to believe that you guys are going to do what's the best thing for community. What that entails, of course, obviously, is citizens like me, and then also business owners and so forth, and people working for those businesses that have created a lifestyle and a living from these operations. First off, I'd like to say you've done improvements for the TDC and the county, and everybody's done improvements to that boat ramp. Like I say, I see it every day, live down the road from it. You've done a great job. You made improvements, you made it better, you put fingers out there. The activity is actually going to be, I think, going to be better as far as moving boats in and out of there. One of the things I would like to say is, if you trust that the improvements that you made are going to benefit, this is, and my suggestions that I have here are just seeds. I don't believe that I'm right. I'm just scattering the seeds. You can take and leave them as they are. So if you believe that the improvements that you made benefit the area and benefit the boat ramp, my suggestion would be, you got a lot of operations that you've allowed to happen. If you start shuffling up things and changing things now, you're going to create chaos that you're not going to see, that's going to happen later on down the road, and you're not going to know about it until after you've changed a bunch of stuff. So if you made these improvements and you believe in them, kick the can down the road to see if the improvements have made more flow easier. Citizens and businesses are able to flow better in there. If you want to improve it as far as the flow goes, put an attendant down there and say, hey, because you guys' philosophy on code enforcement is education equals compliance, right? Well, when I grew up, it was pain equals compliance, but with the code enforcement now, it's education equals compliance. So my suggestion is add somebody down there that can educate the citizens, the commercial entities, how this is supposed to operate. This is one way, the boats park here, this is only for loading and unloading, those kind of things. The last thing is, and that's the short term. Long term, what's going on with 13th Street, the end of it? In 2018, there was plans and not permits, but there were plans for, what was it called? Santa Rosa Beach Historic Launch. That property was given to the county. Could you tell me what the deadline is before it goes back to the person that donated it?
I would have to defer to Brian if he's got any information on that.
Hey, Christian, appreciate your input.
No problem.
Right. So, yes, the improvements we made or are making right now to Cessna Park were intended to help the flow of the current activity that's there, recognizing that park had become congested with commercial traffic, and it is one of our more heavily used residence parks. It's a truly locals park. So we looked at it and came up with some ideas to make the flow better. We do believe in those. However, since we started that effort, design and permit, and then construction, use has become higher, okay? And so the improvements that we made, while we knew that they would help some, we knew that they're not going to solve all the problems. Right. And we also recognized that there would probably be increased use because of our experience with beach vendor activities over many years. We know that when one business opportunity becomes attractive and lucrative, other people also get into it.
Yes, sir.
All right. So those improvements we believe in. We also understand they're not the end all.
Right.
13th Street, we've gone through some conceptual designing. We've started initial conversations with state and federal regulatory agencies, and we've hit a pretty major roadblock. The land that was gifted to us, it did not have a reverter clause in it, as I understand. Okay. However, it came with issues that we're going to have to correct now. Okay. And those issues are in the form of illegal dredge and fill. All right. So I have to overcome bad past bad behavior before I can continue on with good behavior. I feel confident the Corps of Engineers and us will come to a fair and equitable agreement as to what we can do there. Our original plans were a facility similar to Cessna, as in a 2-boat launch ramp, finger piers on each side, adequate parking, a launch area, a recovery area with wash down, and an appropriate size restroom.
Great.
A phase 2 that we had looked at included some boardwalks through the wetland areas, but unfortunately we do have an issue we have to overcome. Army Corps of Engineers has no timeline on their discernment as to what we can or cannot do. Sure. We hope that they'll work with us, and best case scenario would be a year and a half. We would have permits and a design we could put out for construction bids, and it'd probably take a year to bid, to build.
Well, thank you for all y'all done for our community. I appreciate the things that are happening. There's gonna be pains on both sides, I'm sure. I'm sure you guys are gonna come to a good conclusion to this, and thanks again.
Thank you, Christian. And I failed to mention in the beginning that that is another option that's been discussed is the attendant. So we have discussed that, so. All right, who's next? Mr. Knapp, right?
Yes, sir.
Come on.
First, I thank you for all you do and appreciate your attention to this matter. You guys worked hard on this. The county desperately needs a commercial boat ramp. We are a community of, 11, 12,000 residents and several million visitors that come down here, and there's approximately 75 commercial permits that have been given, both fishing charters and pontoon rental companies. With that 75 permits, there's about 100 people that are employed, that are providing revenue for their families in this community. This doesn't include the revenue we generate in taxes, plus the amount of revenue, because people are staying in Walton County, restaurants, beach stores, gas stations, storage facilities. They benefit from our services. Plus, we're providing not just for vacationers, but also for the local residents. Up until recently, as you know, we've only had one safe boat ramp, which really only allows for about 4 boats to be put in the water at one time. Now with the additions, we actually can move about 6 boats over to that side, which really resolves 90% of the problem. But I'm going to propose a few other additional solutions. Number one, with the new docks, my suggestion is no loading and unloading clients at the existing boat ramp. Any loading and unloading clients would be moved to the new docks. That really completely resolves this issue, I believe. Number two, drop boats and leave. One of the issues is parking, and it's because a lot of people are leaving their boats or their trailers and their trucks at Cessna Landing. The idea is once you put the boat in the water, get it out of Cessna Landing and park it somewhere else. Number three, no leaving trucks and trailers in the parking lot. If that's a possibility, some people can't do that, I can. So if people can take their trucks and trailers and park it elsewhere during the day, it would resolve the parking issue. Cleaning the fish. Obviously, we could move that station to another dock and take that away. I think the issue is it's too close to the ramp when people are putting boats in and out of the water. If we just move that to a different location, that's great. The other thing is Saturdays is really the most congested day, and that's really not that terribly bad. What we do is 90% of our boats on Fridays and Saturdays are typically bachelorette parties, and they are shuttled down to the dock, whether it's through a shuttle company or something like that. So we don't have hardly any actual cars in the parking lot. So my suggestion is try our best to have a shuttles on Saturdays. Number six, no Sea-Doos or other personal watercraft sitting on the property all day. I don't think that's appropriate. If they have to put them in and move, that's fine, but no sitting around all day. Number seven, teamwork. We all need to work as a team, helping each other out at the dock. Number eight, clean up the park continually. All of us have a responsibility to do that. Limit permits. I think people outside of Walton County shouldn't get permits. And one other thing I want to throw out there, half of us companies do not have captain's licenses. And I think that needs to be removed. That was added to this, which would shut down. I've invested $2 million in this company, and it would shut me down, and plus 15, 20 people that work for us, both full and part-time.
All right, thank you. Hey, Mr. Knapp, what hours do you primarily operate? What typically is the first?
We're 8 to noon is drop off, and then we have a delay from about noon to 3 where boats are out of the water and it's completely empty. We don't do any, we have no activity at the dock.
So your first one would be around 8.
Usually 8 to 9, and then it's dense between 9 and noon, and then from 1 to 3, there's no, the only time there's activity on our end from 9 to 3 is if there's a storm and boats are coming back.
Mhm.
And then
Okay.
from 3 to 6 is when boats are coming off the water.
Okay. And just to give y'all some numbers, if you don't know, in 23-24, we issued 78 of those permits, and out of 78, 27 were to pontoon boats. In 425 season, the current season, we issued 60, and 26 were pontoon boats. So that's just the numbers that's not saying there's not somebody operating without a permit, but that's the actual permits that we've issued.
Real quick question. The boats that are coming from Destin, Fort Walton, are they permitless? Are they actually operating? Ideally, I don't think only permits should be offered to Walton County, not.
Right.
Boats coming.
Right. Well, like I said, there's not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there's people that are using it that's not, permitted. So I think that would be another task of our attendant to make sure that that is going on as well. So, all right, who's next? Come on, Mr. Brooks.
Do we spell our name and the whole thing for the recording?
I think she's got yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of questions. This is my first time looking into this whole issue, so I'm a novice in terms of my knowledge of it, and so I don't want to belabor the point, but I've got a couple of questions. First of all, I guess, are the permits for commercial users only?
Yes.
Okay. Are the commercial users, do they have the same usage rights as the public users or non-commercial users?
Sure. Yes.
Okay, so their usage is equal. So if you limited the number of public, or the number of permit users, you should limit the number of public users the same way, correct?
No.
Okay, that was my first question.
Yeah.
So it's the public park that's permitting, no pun intended, commercial users to use the boat ramp as commercial entities or as members of the public?
I would say that they're commercial entities.
Okay, I'm just trying to find out where you're drawing the lines and how you're not. Okay, okay. Are there alternative ramps available to this one?
Yes.
How many?
Well, I mean, usable ones, I mean, you're talking about county-owned parks?
Yes.
Yeah, you got Grady Brown, you got Pilcher Park. There's a few other ones, but Cessna Park, I think, is the best, and the people that use it could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but is more protected. If you got Pilcher Park and you got the wind coming out of the east, it can be difficult. If you got Grady Brown and the wind coming out of the west, it can be difficult.
Are all the ones you're talking about on the north or the south, or both?
Both.
Okay, so you're talking the total?
Yes.
So there's what, 3 to 5?
Well, there's Choctaw Beach. There's others, but the main ones, I think, is, and the main usage park or boat launch is Cessna Landing.
Okay.
And it's such a small place, and again, it's very well protected, so it's easier to launch, so.
It's the nicest place to use. Okay.
It's closer to Crab Island. It's, I can go on and on, so, yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So then why do you want to limit the number of permits? And you only want to limit commercial permits, or commercial users, I'm assuming.
That's correct.
Not the public. And why?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
And may I have a little extra time, if you mind? It's a workshop, it's not a.
Well, I
BCC
understand that, but
meeting.
we're going to give everybody an opportunity
Okay,
to
then
talk.
can we, but we, can we?
That
can
it's
we come
possible
back
that we
later?
can come back.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
Just-
So Cessna Park is, and has always been, a public park. At some point in its life, Beach Operations Department, Tourism Department was asked to maintain it because of our ability to maintain it, meaning revenue or funding, and our proximity to it. Over the years, as in all things South Walton, if there is money to be made, and because of the ripe environment to make money, people get into the business. And so what we're experiencing there is congestion. And that congestion manifests itself in the form of complaints to county commissioners and county departments, as in, I'm a county taxpayer, I can't even use my own boat ramp. Everybody likes to own, have ownership of something, even though it's a county facility. And so like everything else, county commissioners and county department people that are in charge of these facilities have a responsibility to make sure that the original and intended use of the park is maintained. It's a public park, and it should be available for the public to use as intended. Commercial activities, while the county commissioner appreciates and respects small business and wants to promote small business, they still have a duty to make sure that the public parks are used for the intended use of them. And so a mechanism we've used in the past is we limit commercial activity. The fee that is applied to the permits is a nominal fee and could be considered a processing fee, not necessarily a use fee. And that may be an avenue to explore a usage fee versus a processing fee for a permit. But in the end, what we've experienced there is extreme congestion by a couple of different commercial activities. One industry has found a way to somewhat mitigate, minimize their impact to it. The other commercial industry is looking at ways to do that, and it's following the normal progression of, hey, it's a great idea, let's do it, let's all do it. Oh my gosh, it's too much. The people that have to regulate the park and maintain it are going to have to step in and say, okay, we got to regulate use to a little bit more of a degree so that all people can have use of this park.
One last question before I sit down. Do you have, I'll be back up again, I think, but do you have any kind of data on the percent of the usage or the number of commercial launches versus the number of private launches per day?
We don't tabulate launch activity there. What we do is monitor it through daily, observance, and that comes from my department in the form of the people that maintain it. Complaints that different departments receive, complaints that county commissioners receive, and stuff like that. There's no denying that we have congestion. Mr. Knapp has already confirmed that we don't have enough facilities for commercial use. And I don't disagree with Mr. Knapp. I do disagree with Mr. Knapp that it's county's responsibility to provide commercial space. We don't make parks for restaurants.
Care to venture any kind of a estimate as to, is it more used by commercial or more used by private citizens?
We have a good mix. It's a very popular boat ramp because of, one, its proximity to fishing grounds. The Destin Bridge is a good fishing grounds. Hogtown Bayou is an excellent fishing grounds. It has protected waters. It has a fairly deep ramp, depending on tides, but even at low tide, you can still get a fairly large boat in, unlike Legion Park, a little bit further to the west, where it's 2 feet deep, 300 feet out from shore. So, like I said, it has advantages to certain people for different reasons.
And I don't think launching only is the only thing that's causing the congestion. There's also some boats picking up clients there that don't launch there as well.
Okay, but do they have to come into the ramp to do that, or?
Pull up to the pier there.
So formerly we had just launch piers on each side of the ramp. Under this new project we're close to completing, we've added 2 new finger piers that were intended to be loading and unloading vessel piers.
So that'll help mitigate that issue or
Yeah,
problem?
that was the reason we put those in. And, unfortunately, Corps of Engineers limited our length based on its proximity to the channel and an existing permit for what's called a living shoreline there that was put in many years ago by CBA. And so the piers weren't as long as I'd like for them to be, but at least we got something.
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
My name's Hunter Forbes. I just want to, reiterate that this ordinance that went into place never had a chance. It has never been enacted in summertime. It solves all the problems. It really does. When we talk about that, we're really, the problems in this whole, it's all branching off of Cessna. There's congestion at Cessna. And, commercial use, everyone's being lump summed into this. The charter fishermen and the rentals are 2 totally different entities. It's commercial use, but it is being used totally different. And the majority of the charter fishermen there come by water. We don't even launch our boats at that ramp. We come in, pull up, pick up, and leave. No different than an Uber somewhere. You know, we're aware of the situation. We're not asking the county for anything. We just keep our heads down and trying to do our jobs. Grady Brown has more charter boats using it than what Cessna does. You don't hear any problems at Grady Brown. There's one issue here and what's causing this problem, and it's plain as day. The ordinance solves the problem. Just give it a chance.
Thank you. Well, let's get through everybody, and then we'll see where we're at. All right, who's next? Nobody?
Tabitha Howard, Howard. With the commercial boats, what was that number again? Was it 78 that have permits?
23, 24 season, 78.
78, and then there were 27 pontoons you had said as
27
well?
27 of those were pontoon rooms.
Oh, they were just, not companies, just individual pontoons, 27?
That's right. Each boat requires a permit.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I wrote
All
down
right,
my numbers
thank
right.
you.
Thank
My name's John Polk, P-O-L-K. First, I want to thank you guys for having this workshop today. It's needed. I kind of have a unique situation. I am a business owner with several businesses here in the county. Also own a charter business, and I also live on Hogtown Bayou. I own 34 acres on Hogtown Bayou, right around the corner, and own about 3,700 feet of shoreline. So, you know, I feel like I have a lot of interest in this matter as well. Obviously, there's some problems at Cessna with congestion. Some of that has probably been increased with, especially the parking. There was a wood fence that went up last spring where a lot of the boats were able to park in the grass. It cut down about 12 to 14 parking places, which again makes Cessna look more crowded. As the gentleman had mentioned a minute ago, the changes in the ordinance never were allowed to take place. I think that went in sometime in July. Then my understanding is with the captain's requirement that was extended until October 15th, and I may be wrong on that. So we never saw any effect of that whatsoever. Me personally, I drive by that ramp 10 times a day. With what I know and know most of the people that operate there, that would solve our issues. We wouldn't be here today if that was allowed to take place. Additionally, we've got more finger piers at Cessna. Thank you, Brian. And, you know, one of the big things is all my businesses and nearly everyone that's in business in Walton County is tied to tourism. And in one way or another, it all ties to tourism here. I grew up in a town in West Kentucky where we did not have much tourism, and the little that we did, they shunned away. And it's the reason I moved here, because we've got growth, and that's great. But we've already in the past, through whatever reasons, people that are coming here are limited to their beach access. Then we're going to turn around to these people that come rent these homes. These guys that run these charter operations for fishing, these people are coming and renting a home in Water Sound. They want to come experience what we have to offer. And if we're not allowing them to do that, then again, we're sending out the message, we don't want you here. I can't tell you, it's probably almost half of the people that I put on the boat and leave from Cessna Landing. When the sun's coming up and before we get out, they look over at me and they say the trip's already made. Because a lot of people don't realize that we have that here. Destin doesn't have that.
Right.
But what we also don't have is Destin has a commercial district where commercial businesses can operate on the water. We don't have anything like that here. And so I think we have the problem
We're
solved.
definitely different.
That's right. But I think we have the problem solved if we would let that change in the ordinance soak.
I understand what you're saying. I can assure you that the pontoon boat rental guys will probably get up there and disagree with that.
Sure.
But, with that being said, let's see if we appreciate your, yes, sir.
Can I address a few comments? What was your name?
John Polk?
John?
Yes.
All right, appreciate your comments, John.
Yeah.
The fence we put up was to keep people from degrading the grassy area over there. It's not intended for parking, it's actually intended for play area. So we put it there so that that grass wouldn't get destroyed and that become a big
I
mud
figured that
field.
was the case, yes, sir.
The other thing too is immediately adjacent to this park is the Cultural Arts Alliance. That's actually their parking lot. That land was gifted to the county, and it has terms and conditions that it be used for a cultural arts or some sort of arts facility. And so we have to make sure that we maintain that responsibility as well. You have 34 acres and 3,700 foot of shoreline
Yes,
on
sir.
on
Build a
Hogtown?
marina.
I do.
Why have you not developed that into a commercial facility?
Well, to be quite honest, what the county would make me go through to do that would be impossible.
What would they make you go through to do that?
For me to have a parking lot for anyone to park, there would be stormwater studies, stormwater systems. Just, this is the business that I'm in. I mean, I do earthwork and site work, and I know there's no way to balance the cost of that. Also, a lot of the land that, is in Hogtown and comes on around is wetlands or it's in conservation also.
Right, okay.
Yes.
So it's cost prohibitive, even though you're a dirt work guy? You're a civil guy? So you understand all land development codes and all that, so,
Well, it would, from the permitting process, from what you would go through with the state to everyone else, I mean, it's a 10-year plan. I've owned this
Right.
property for a month, so
you've owned it for a month?
a month, yeah, that's right. And,
Yeah.
to be honest, part of the reason is because I'm nearly $2 million into my charter business, okay? And what was going on last summer, as Melanie could tell you, I was nervous, very
Yeah.
nervous. Coming in her office, what's going on,
Yeah. How many boats do you have?
I have two,
2 boats?
Yes.
$2 million?
yes, sir.
What kind of boats are they, just out of
They're
curiosity?
large center consoles, so we're taking people offshore,
Offshore?
we're fishing the
Yeah.
oil rigs, doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I will say this, I heard something mentioned earlier about the lottery, and I've been in business for 31 years. There is no possible way that someone can build a business on knowing, and that's the struggle with these guys right now. We're sitting here in January wondering if our livelihood's gonna be taken out from under us. And that's what's in your hands. So the lottery, no one's gonna be able, you can't build a social media presence, have a following, have your insurance in order. The way this stuff goes, if we lapse our insurance for a month, our insurance will probably triple. Because when we go back, they say, have you been continuously covered? No. So no business is going to be able to have a charter business this year. Oh, I didn't get a permit. I don't get to do it next year. That's impossible. And you're never going to have anyone that provides a service to the people that are coming here to vacation. And this is a service. I mean, the people that come here, they're renting multi-million-dollar homes. I mean, I run one charter trip that, I mean, it's expensive, This is why they're coming here. They don't want the Destin experience. They're coming here because 30A offers something totally different.
Gotcha.
All right, thank you.
Did you say
Yes.
you were a licensed civil contractor?
Yes, sir.
So, state certified?
Yes, not state certified, no,
You're-
sir. Through the county.
Pardon me?
Through the county,
Oh,
not
registered
state certified,
civil
yeah.
contractor,
I did some of the site work on your kayak launch.
Over at Camp Creek?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yeah,
With,
I met you over there.
Yeah, Three Rivers.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a licensed contractor, you're probably used to local and state codes changing as to how you can do business?
That's right.
Right. How do you navigate through those?
Well, it's, you generally, some local state or code does not put me out of business tomorrow. It's something that I can, you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, nothing is that drastic.
Yeah.
You know,
If
as
you
far as
couldn't-
code.
Yeah, if you
I
couldn't
mean,
launch at Cessna tomorrow, would you be out of business?
I mean, you can't, where else would I launch?
Grady
You know?
Brown, Pilcher?
I'm launching a 38-foot boat. No. And
If
that's, I mean, no, that is that's the thing about, you know, with,
You launch a 38-foot boat at Cessna?
yes, sir.
How close do you get to the bridge when you put it in? Just out of curiosity.
What do you mean?
When you're backing it in, how close do you get to
The
the
bridge
bridge?
is off to the corner. It's
Yeah.
not right behind the ramp.
Yeah.
But Cessna is, there's a lot of reasons why people use Cessna. It's deep water. It's deep water all the way out.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Grady Brown, or the one that's up there on the Freeport side, even with the improvements, it's still really shallow getting out
It
for
is,
a
yeah.
larger boat. The ramps, I don't know if they've got rocks down towards the end of them, but they're hard to use with a larger trailer. And really with Cessna, it's the experience for the people that are coming here. They have no idea.
Yeah.
All they've ever seen is Crab Island. They have no idea that we've got beautiful marshland and all, you know,
Yeah.
salt grass and all this stuff
Oh,
on the
yeah.
way out. So,
It's definitely a good experience, yeah.
yes,
I
sir.
would seriously consider the 34 acres you have and maybe some sort of co-op, because Mr. Knapp and I discussed this extensively, and I've encouraged him to form some sort of, you know, unity or consortium, you know, co-op.
Right.
But if I had 34 acres and 3,700 foot of shoreline, I'd figure out some way to find some people that had money that were willing to invest.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I watch all these county meetings, and I know immediately what I would come up against is when I come and say I want to do a commercial
Yeah.
operation there, then all my neighbors are going to say, we don't want a commercial operation there, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Were you involved in the person that had proposed a launch facility there, right there at 13th Street?
no, sir.
Several years ago, a person came to us with a private-public partnership. It didn't come to fruition. We actually got the 10 acres of what was left of that.
I see.
Part of our terms and conditions with that 13th Street where we rebuild the road and put in water and sewer down the road. And that gives the opportunity for the person that gifted us the land to develop the land.
I see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so-
it's, you know, and also I think it's a slippery slope too, if, you know, I mean, if the county is restricting someone access to use an access like that, are we gonna restrict beach vendors from using certain beach accesses? Cause it's
We
the
already do
same
that.
thing.
We
Well,
already do that.
they won't let them in a certain beach access.
We have a managed vendor program on public
I understand
beach.
that,
Yeah.
but they can walk down and use a beach access, right?
So
they
no,
can- to access it.
at Public Beach, at our regional beach accesses, we have a managed vendor program, and at some of the neighborhood beach accesses as well. But it limits the vendor use of it, and the original intent of it was for the beach to fill up naturally with people that may not want to use vendor equipment. On private property, we don't have much regulation other than municipal code that is safety and sanitary oriented. And so, you know, once again, I think everybody here understands the issues we have is we have congestion. It's the same thing we experienced on the beach. And the county commission has a duty to make sure that everybody that would like to use the public park has the opportunity to use it for its intended use.
Well, I totally agree, because I
Yeah.
mean, I use it, I take my family there, we
Yeah.
launch a boat, you know, but I think we solved it, you know, we just let it work.
All right, let's
Thank you.
see if we got somebody else that wants to.
My name's Heath Holcomb. I'm a citizen that uses Cessna, and I'm also an employee of a pontoon rental company that runs out of Cessna. I would like to say one quick thing. These fishing charter guys are referring to the county ordinance here, number 1, section 24-2, requiring the owner of the boat to have a captain's license. Is that what they were referring to earlier? They were saying they're worried about their livelihood. I would like to point out that it's also my livelihood as well. If that county ordinance passes, that puts me out of a job. So would like to make that clear. Another thing, I would like to voice my concern about, I know y'all have previously talked about people using Pilcher Park, the one of the bridges, is that correct? I would like to say, do any of y'all use Pilcher Park as a launch point for your charters? I'm
Please address us, not the crowd.
All right. So, well, I can't launch my own personal boat at Pilcher Park for a multitude of reasons. Ramp's too steep. If that wind comes in, I could easily sink my boat out there. I have launched some of our pontoons out there as well, and even in a mild 10-mile-an-hour wind, it gets very dangerous out there. So you're talking about clients out there, our captains out there. Our captains are liable for what happens on those boats. Want to avoid that if possible. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Wait, I got a question, come back. So you can only launch at Cessna?
I know, you're talking about my personal boat or our pontoons. I could use some of the ones, I have not actually tried the one north of the bridge. I don't know the name of it, the one right there.
That's Grady
across-
Brown.
Grady Brown.
But
I have
you
not-
also have two in Freeport on 4 Mile Creek, that 4 Mile Creek is very well in depth, that tugs come in and out.
I'm not real familiar with that area.
You have Marsh Landing and everything else right there.
No, what I
So
I
that's
do-
what, y'all are saying that Cessna is y'all's livelihood. What's wrong with the parks north of the bay?
We're talking about customers going further. Crab Island, it's farther from Crab Island. You also,
It's actually not farther from Crab Island if you go from
you
Port.
have in Cessna Landing, you know, as they've talked about previously, it is sheltered. So on bad weather days,
So is the boat ramps
Like I
on
said,
4
I'm
Mile,
not-
and so are the ones at Portland Park. There's several of us from Freeport area
sure.
that use these, and they are protected. There's
Like I
3
said,
captains right behind you that can tell you the same thing I'm
And
telling you.
again, I'm a licensed captain. I'm not familiar. I haven't launched out of there. I don't know how deep they are.
We have every park on the county website,
Sure, and I'll go look at them.
and you can look at every one on there. Every county park's on there, boat ramps and everything.
Of course, like I said, I came up here telling you my experience with the ones that I've been to. So, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Justy White, like Rusty, but with a J. Thank you very much for giving me a chance to speak. I want to speak just about boat ramps and the expectations of boat ramps for a minute. If you've ever been to Joe's Bayou in Destin on a Saturday, if you show up late, you can't launch, right? It's just a reality. If you go into Fort Walton, many other city boat ramps, there's just a boat ramp congestion thing, especially on Saturdays. And I think Saturdays is what is really at the core of the issue here. And that having full disclosure, I'm a captain. I have done 60 to 80 bareboat charter services for clients that have hired me to come to their rented boat out of Cessna and go to Crab Island, because it's always the same thing, right? In my experience, the congestion is a thing, right? But every time that I have come, now the last time I would have come would have been probably June of this past year. I drive a Jeep. Every time I come, whether it's 10 a.m., 11 a.m., I find a parking spot. I've never had to park in the back. I literally, half the time I'm parking right in front of the restrooms. Sometimes I have to come around the corner, maybe park in front of a pavilion. I've been able to find a parking spot. Undoubtedly, there's boats, especially if it's a Saturday, a few of them queued up, but we also have a pretty short queue there just because of the coming in and, turning to the right. But having seen that, the way that the boats come in and go out, it doesn't exceed what your expectations might be at many other public boat ramps, maybe not so much in Ron County. I mean, if we go to Legion Park, there's never gonna be a line of people at Legion because you can't effectively use Legion. But I just wanna say from a user experience, from meeting clients there and bringing, clients out, I have not been there even on a Saturday when I thought this is just a chaotic mess. It's not to diminish it, Personally, I think there are some solutions there to keep that. I think when you guys mentioned earlier the idea of an attendant, I think you should consider exploring that, like maybe giving this whole thing one more year where there's some real solutions to how the boats and people come in and come out of the facility itself. I think that, especially on Saturdays, if commercial launches for rentals are limited to certain times in and out, where fishermen can come in, recreational boaters. If recreational boaters know you got to get there before 9, you're fine, because that's when you probably want to go before 9 anyway, and you have to be back at a certain time, then that could be helpful as well. And potentially also, you can back 2 boats down into there at any time if one of those slips potentially is limited to commercial activity, and one is always open for private. And if you have an attendant there, you can tell them commercial wait, private people come in. You've got one slip where private boats go in and go out. If you take away the problem that people are experiencing, maybe it'll work for everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Did you say that you were a captain that charters or does somebody's
Yeah,
pontoon
so
boat?
I don't work for a pontoon boat company.
Right.
I work for a client that hires me to come and captain their charter boat. So if a
Okay.
client,
Okay,
I make people's trips safer and fun. So obviously tourists come in the county, typically it's the far, probably, I've had more people from Inlet Beach than anywhere else, but Seagrove to Inlet. They'll come in, hire me, I take them out on one of the charter boats. It could be from any charter boat company, right? Any rental company. I take them out, give them a safe, wonderful experience, bring them back. If I'm talking to them about how to get there. I'm like, don't park, because I'm a professional, right? Don't park, don't think about parking there. Either take an Uber or take a shuttle, something, get
Okay.
yourself there. You're all gonna drink anyway. You want a shuttle at the way home, so.
all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question for him. Do you have a Coast Guard license? I do.
Come on, Mr. Woodard. All right, we're not here to drill him about his license. Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah,
Woodard.
good afternoon. My name is Austin Woodard. I've been operating out of Cessna since 2013. Born and raised in the area. I don't think people realize the amount of public ramps we have around the area. You got, in Freeport, you got Aliquot, you got Marsh Landing, like Cliff said, Choctaw Beach. You start getting to, Grady Brown, then you have Pilcher, then you have Hogtown, and a little bit further you have Legion. There's a lot of opportunities. What I see the problem at Hogtown is its proximity to Crab Island. And then if you're a member or, you live in Santa Rosa Beach, that is your closest ramp, end of discussion. I mean, that's the only place to go. Legion's, too shallow, and I forgot to mention Point Washington, same thing. It's shallow, a bunch of old timbers in there from sawmills. Cessna is appealing for a lot of reasons. But I wish y'all would give the new ordinance a chance. All right, if you have a captain's license, right, 6-pack, that's going to cut out on, I've got to witness it. I'm there about 200 days out of the year. You got these 36-foot catamarans coming in for a bareboat charter, right? They're loading up. There's 3 or 4 cars pull up to the ramp. All right, they're sitting there in front of, not allowing people to back in. And I come by water. So that, that's not my issue there. But you got this 36-foot catamaran that backs in, all right. He has, 10, 15 people get on the boat, it seems. I don't keep up with the exact number. And then they have to sit there and sign liability waivers. And they're sitting there for 20, 30 minutes at a time. That's an issue. As far as, it's my livelihood. I don't want to take, the rentals, the charters. I'm not trying to cut anyone's livelihood out, end of discussion there. But, when you get somebody on the boat that's a chartered captain, he's in and out of that dock every day. He's able to navigate. Say you have 6 or 8 pontoons tied up. If you have a captain on every single one of them, they can navigate. They can move that boat when another person's coming in, whether it be commercial, whether it be, just a civilian coming to back his boat. But if you have 6 pontoon boats that are just staged right there waiting on the people to get there, there's nobody to occupy them. You can't, there's nowhere to tie up, whether it's commercial use, like I said, or civilian. You got to have a person on every single boat. It's like parking a car, right in front of the Walmart and getting out and leaving, parking 6 of them. Well, I'll be back in just a minute. You got to have somebody in every single boat that's down there. You know, I know there may be a time frame or something as far as, well, they can only be there 10 minutes, but you're talking 15, 20, 30 minutes at a time, 6 boats tied up, that's an issue. And that's what I just would love to see this new ordinance come into effect. If you have a licensed captain on every boat, you have no, you know, you have no issue. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right, who's next?
I'll be real quick. My name's Kenneth Boyd. 5 years ago, I bought my land over 2 blocks from Cessna because of Cessna. And last year, I didn't even attempt to launch my boat. It's just become too big of a hassle. And I don't understand building the new docks. That just made more room to park boats, like he's talking about, unattended. They built a new parking lot, but they didn't paint lines on it to park. I drive through there 3 or 4 times a day. I walk down there a couple times a day. Got the new parking lot that's wonderful, but there's no lines parked to show people that don't know how to park a trailer and a boat. That would help. And as far as I know, it's not lined. Is it supposed to be one way through there? It needs to be marked if it is, because it's not. I had somebody about hit me head on yesterday because they were just flying through there in a car. I don't know what they was doing, but they just come flying through there.
Yeah.
Wrong
So
way.
with all construction projects, we had some issues as we went through it. There's a certain amount of time you have to wait after you put down fresh paving to put in the thermoplastic markings. They're actually in place now.
Okay. I would assume you was going
Yeah,
to, yes, sir.
right. There's still some things that have to be finished there. We have a few deficiencies that have to be corrected by the contractor, so there'll still be some work going on. You know, like I say, every construction project has its issues.
Yes, sir.
But the intent of the 2 new piers was to ease the congestion at the launch piers.
Okay.
Have piers for people can load and unload. I think what everybody needs to take away from this is that while the county provides facilities, we have to have an understanding that we can't provide facilities for everybody at the same time. When a facility gets full, the facility is
Yes,
full.
sir.
If I go into a parking place and there's no more parking places, I don't nose my truck up into the grass or
Right.
up on the landscaping. I say to myself, Brian, the parking lot is full. I have to go to the next facility that may be available. And I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the county should supply for commercial interest versus what should the commercial interest supply for themselves.
Right.
So when you go to Destin, we've used that for a couple of examples. The Destin fishing fleet provided the facilities that they use.
Absolutely.
One of the biggest pontoon boat rental companies in Destin bought land, went through the design and permitting processes to build them a facility that is capable of handling the amount of volume that they would like to handle.
Right.
And so once again, I want to emphasize, county commissioners in this county have a very keen interest in promoting small business. We understand that tourism is our biggest industry, but we also understand that as our community changes from a primarily transient community to a more primary resident community, we have to start addressing the quality of life issues for the people that live and pay taxes here.
Yes, sir.
And that's where we've come to on Cessna Park. We all understand the arguments, and sometimes I feel like some of the people presenting the arguments don't completely understand the argument. They're arguing for what's good for them.
Right.
Today, we've learned that it's convenience
Absolutely.
that what makes Cessna Park attractive. Convenient for the trip to Crab Island.
To Crab
It's
Island.
convenient for the client from their accommodations in Seagrove. We all understand that.
Yes, sir.
And so I think there needs to be a reciprocal understanding of county government of what our responsibility is with public parks, particularly in accommodating commercial interest.
One other question, and I'm done. How come there wasn't capable of building another ramp? I was hoping that there was going to be more ramps, if there was going to be more docks, but
So
that
we-
wasn't
right.
possible?
Well, so we knew with the gift of the 13th Street property that we were going to make another boat launch facility.
Yes, sir.
And our intent is to make that one more boat launch oriented and less park oriented. If you recognize, Cessna has a lot of components.
Oh, it used to be a hidden gem.
Yeah,
for
you
me,
know,
a
the
lot of
pier
people.
to the west is actually a fishing pier. It's not a loading, unloading
Right,
pier. It has
right.
rails around it. It has a basketball court. It has picnic tables, it has a grassy area, and it also has this connection to this cultural arts facility
Right.
that we're slowly migrating into one big park.
Gotcha.
And so our, future phases are boardwalks through the wetlands. We actually own a fairly amount of land down that small bayou that goes towards Wilson Street.
Yes, sir.
We have.
That's where I live on Wilson Street.
Okay. And,
So why'd they take the bridge out? I was just
well, there was
curious.
a request by some citizens to take it out. And the then county commission decided that that was a thing to do. I don't make any opinion or judgment on was it or not. But, I think we all just need to understand that in South Walton in particular, there's limited opportunity. A few people have addressed here that they don't even have the opportunity, even though they have the land.
Right.
The effort and the cost is prohibitive. I spoke with Mr. Knapp, Mr. Knapp, why don't you buy some land on the bay and develop you a nice commercial activity? Well, Brian, I don't have the time or the money to do
Right.
that. And I understand that. I don't have the time or the money to do that. Nor does the county
Yes, sir.
have the time or the money to develop a exclusively commercial fishing
Right. Yes, sir.
launching facility. Just like we, I think it also should go into the discussion of, is that the right thing to do? Because what is the next business that is going to come to the county and say, you got to provide me
Build something.
space for me to make money?
Yes, sir.
And so if everybody would step back and think about what is good for the collective good, we will probably get a lot farther on this.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Knapp, I got a question for you. Do you wait till the entire party gets there before you launch, or do you launch and just tie up and wait for them to get there, or how do you do it?
So typically, we know the boats, we have a schedule, they have to be there at 10 o'clock. We put the boat at 10, and if they're not there, we move it over until they get there. We always have.
Tony.
Yeah.
Mr. Knapp, can you come up to the podium?
Yeah,
so
come
that
on up here to
everybody
the
can
podium.
have a feel?
I'm sorry, I just needed to answer that question.
There's a couple things I want to share anyway. First of
Well,
all.
can you answer that question first?
Yeah, I'll answer that question. So we have schedules. We
Right.
only put one boat in the water per half hour. So 8 o'clock, 8:30, unless it's a two-boat party, which is very random or rare, we will put, and then if their clients aren't there immediately, we move the boat out of the way and bring it back to the dock when the clients arrive. So that's how we handle that.
So when you say you move it out of the way, so you've got somebody on the boat and
We are the only company that I know of in Cessna that actually has two people at Cessna Landing the entire day managing the boats. So not only are we managing our own boats, we have hundreds of times helped people put boats in the water that don't. There's a lot of people that have put a boat in the water 4 times a year that don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
We're there to help orchestrate that, so.
So the answer to that question would be that, yes, you do launch the boat prior to them getting there, and then it's tied up waiting for them to get there.
Not but a couple minutes if it's tied up. Because if we wait till they get there, we can do that. We're happy to do that. Wait till they get there and put the boat in the water, or anchor the boat out in the water and then bring it up when they get there. We're happy to do that too. But let me share this, because this is, I am 100% pro fishing charters. I mean, we have offered multiple times to put some of these companies on our website to promote them, because we realize the value that they offer this community. There are thousands of people that want to use a fishing charter. There's thousands of people that want to use a pontoon rental company. We have had no reported accidents. With our insurance company in the 6 years that we've been in business, and we run a lot of boats. One of the things that's been a little heartbreaking is this summer, there was a concerted effort on the pontoon rental, and this is a Okaloosa County thing too. The fishing charters have always hated the commercial, recreational boating industry. There's always been a war. And it really we need to work together, because there was a concerted effort on behalf of all of them to have a meeting, which we found out, the pontoon rental companies found out after the meeting was over, that there was a meeting, a county meeting, that basically passed an ordinance that allows the fishing charters to operate and not us. We weren't informed of this. None of us made it to that meeting because it was posted on the website, but it kind of took us by surprise. So, and I realize you guys make the effort to put it on the website, but, you know, and I don't go to your website every day to look at it. We want to work as a team. I have, like I said, I have $2 million invested in this. We've not had any incidents. We use both bareboat charters and we use, but we have not had any, we operate a higher end, we offer a higher end boat. You know, if the best way I could describe it is if the beach chair companies came to you and said, hey, we don't want bonfire companies anymore. How do you allow a beach chair company and not a bonfire, or vice versa? And that's kind of what's happened to us. It's been, there's obviously with the fishing charters, there's more owners, so they have more voice. Where the pontoon rental companies, there's only 3 of us. We don't have a voice. And we feel like, honestly, we're under attack. We're not perfect, but we have streamlined. We move boats in and out of there faster than anybody else does, by far. We have our boats sitting at the dock less than any company there, by far. So I think this has to be a team effort. This attack on the pontoon rental companies, passing an ordinance when we weren't even made aware of it, it's not the most ethical thing I've ever seen.
Well, the county doesn't typically reach out and notify people about.
I understand that.
I mean, that's on the business to, you know, check the agenda and see when it's up. But, and you can always call and ask, when is it?
We just didn't see it coming. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I don't spend time going on the county website. It's in the middle of the summer. I had to operate my business. For me to take time to go on the website every day, I'm here to work as a team. I'm here to help these guys. This has been a war in Okaloosa County that's moved here. It's the same division, and I have no qualms with them. We've got to work together
Sure,
instead
absolutely.
of being so divisive against each other. It's not healthy. I've provided solutions to streamline the process. I'm willing to work with whoever to make it happen. I just think we've got to work as a team, and I believe the new ramps and some of the new improvements will fix the problem with the solutions that I provided, and I'll put an email together with the solutions that I mentioned so everybody can see that again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Come on up. Yeah, you raised your hand, come on.
How you doing? Chris Pelly. I'm a licensed captain. I've ran charters out of the county boat ramps for the last 10 years. I'm just trying to figure out kind of how we got here. You know, we had a meeting like this a year ago. There was an ordinance presented to the county commissioners. Every single one voted for it unanimously. You know, there was nobody that opposed it. I mean, maybe they weren't aware of it, you know. And then I don't understand what happened. It never even got a chance to work itself out. I don't recall there being a meeting. I don't recall there being any type of a vote. I'm not sure the legal process, how that works.
And maybe I can clear a few things up for you. You're absolutely correct. The reason we're here today is because the board directed me to hold a workshop.
Right.
And
How
so
do we
I'm
know we're
holding a
not in the
workshop.
same spot next year?
Well, I mean, if the board
Yeah.
directs us to do that,
Right.
that's exactly what we'll
I mean-
do. But the board is wanting to take input on
Sure.
some solutions.
Yeah.
So, like Brian had mentioned earlier, that's why we're here.
You're right.
If you've got something you would like to offer for us to consider. and to-
Absolutely.
That,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's
The
why we're here, and
ordinance-
that's what this
yeah,
workshop's
The ordinance
about.
solves the problem. I just came from Pompano Beach, Florida. I don't know if you're aware, it's in Broward County.
Mhm.
It's a population of about 130,000 people, and they have one boat ramp in the entire city. They have a little bit more docks. I'd say they have
You
about-
said city, so you said county.
City, yeah, and it's in Broward County, Pompano
Okay.
Beach. They have, like I said, they have 130,000 citizens. They have one boat ramp. They have
Okay.
about as much dock space as if you combined, I'd say, Grady and Pilcher. And they had the same issues. And what did they do? They did exactly what the ordinance said, exactly what every commissioner voted for, and they got rid of the rentals. Now, I have no problem if people want to, I'm not going to call myself a fishing charter. It's boat rentals and charters. A charter, you have a 6-pack captain's license, you allow 6 people on your boat. You know, I've done the Crab Island tours on my boat, I've done river tours, I've done fishing charters. There's no difference except I operate legally. Now, they're going to argue and say, well, there's a bare boat loophole. You know, that allows us to take 17 people on a boat without a inspected vessel. If you have more than 6 people, you have to have a certain license. You have to have certain safety equipment. Your boat has to be looked at by the Coast Guard. And that's, I mean, that's a public safety issue. You know, the county allowing this to happen, you know, that could be negligence if something happened. That's a public safety issue. You know, you allow these operators without a captain's license to run these rental boats for the customers, or the customers can run it themselves. But if you hire a operator and they're not licensed and something happens, you know, there's a reason. You know, us being licensed captains, we have to have drug tests. We have to get renewed every 5 years. We have to have background checks. We have to have a certain amount of sea time. There's a lot of qualifications that go into this. And allowing somebody that is unlicensed, who knows what they've been doing all day, and they go take people out on a pontoon boat, or you know, you allow 17 people to get on a pontoon boat in a dangerous bay in a busy waterway, bad things are going to happen. I mean, I have a friend who owns a pontoon boat rental in Fort Walton. Yeah, they don't have an insurance claim either because they're afraid their insurance is going to go up. They've had plenty of damages to their boats. I know there's captains here on the front row that have had damage to their boats from the pontoon boat rentals. There's no reason why they can't hire a licensed captain, a legal captain. And if you ask the Coast Guard, there is no bareboat loophole. They will disagree with you, them 100%. It's black and white. Another thing, you know, I kind of think there may be a solution. We could kind of form this Marine Advisory Board that will kind of, you know, 6 people can get together that live and work on the water, and they could advise the board, say, hey, you know, the board wants to create a new boat ramp or they want to make improvements. Maybe share the ideas with people that do this every day. Like, you know, you got Grady and Pilcher where you have the pilings set on the inside of the dock where you hit the dock before you hit the pilings. If you would ask any of us in this room, we would say that's probably not a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, when they built Pilcher Park, you know, they could have put a ramp on the other side. So when there's an east wind, you could launch on the other side, you know, it'd be safe. So, you know, I think there's ways that, you know, if we're going to spend our tax dollars improving the boat ramps, I think, you know, we
Well,
should have some
and just
input.
to make sure you understand that, the ordinance has not changed. The ordinance is still.
So is
as
it
the commi-
enforced?
The ordinance has not changed. The board wanted to have this workshop. We're having this workshop.
Okay.
And we will present things to the
Yeah.
board. And it'll be up to the board to decide whether they want to change the ordinance or it
Okay.
will stay as is. So that.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that. I think
Yeah, the
a lot of
board,
us
it has
wondering about
not
that.
changed.
But I'm not asking for any additional infrastructure, anything like that. You know, I'm fine with the way the facilities are. I just want enforce the ordinance. I think it's a huge liability allowing unlicensed captains and boat rentals in the county. Like I said, Pompano Beach had the same issue. They got rid of the boat rentals. If you want to rent a boat, you have to hire the boat with a licensed captain. And if you want to put 17 people on there, that boat has to be inspected by the Coast Guard. They have to have the special safety equipment. They have to have the special life jackets, fire extinguisher, all that stuff.
Okay, all right.
I think it's a
Thank
huge
you.
liability to not do that.
Yep, thank you, sir. We appreciate you being concerned about our liability.
The old man get up here. I'm J.B. Hillard from the Funiac. Last name is Hillard. I'm founder of the Bent Rod Fishing Club in the Funiac. We've been in existence about 12 or 13 years. And all of our members use the ramps on the bay. The way your notice of this public meeting was worded, to me, it was open-ended, even though we know this is primarily about Cessna Landing. So I'm going to have some comments to offer about something else. I've noticed that this current ordinance was executed in June of last year. That's only, 6, 7 months? Everything was hunky-dory, discussed by the county commissioners, public, whatever, and y'all adopted this only 7 months ago. I don't see a thing in the world wrong with it the way it's written. I'd suggest you leave it just like it is. The problem is, in my opinion, is similar to Morrison Springs. It's overuse of a facility. Now, we had the same problem come up last summer at Morrison Springs with commercial use. A dive company came in there, set up operation, was charging people $50 a sample dive, I would call it, about 30 minutes. And the code folk, maybe it's yourself, county was contacted and they stopped that. That's what happens when you have a public park and it's not well managed. You do have commercial interests come in and want to make a buck. Well, that's what's happened here. Everything has been fine up until this past summer, even though y'all been talking about this for, what, 2 or 3 years with the charter guys and the public. Public has been highly upset about the lack of public use at Cessna because of many factors. The main thing is the lack of oversight by the county in setting up the rules of engagement, management, oversight, or whatever. It's been chaos down there during the season. We'll call it the summer. And that can be, the county is in the process now of working on rules and regulations for Morrison Springs. That's going to be coming up in a few months. And they're going to be dealing with overuse. They're going to be limiting access to Morrison Springs. I say they are. That's been discussed. They've discussed, they're going to be discussing fee-based access to it. They're going to be discussing the possibility of access like they do at Ponce de Leon Springs, where the state regulates that, and they allow only so many people access. Would that work at Cessna? I don't know. It'd require some oversight and planning to do it. But really, I don't see a thing in the world wrong with this ordinance as written. You need to deal with the overcrowding. Couple of comments, and I'll sit down. At Grady Brown Park, that's an excellent facility. It's protected for the public, for the charter guys and what have you. Tommy Pilcher Park and Choctaw Beach is not. Way back when Choctaw Beach was implemented by the county, 15 years ago, Sarah Commander was in charge of pushing that, getting it done, and it was suggested that they put up riprap, bulkhead or breakwater to access the Choctaw Beach ramp to protect boats using that ramp. That was not considered. The same thing could have been done at Pilcher Park. A massive riprap out there to make that ramp safe. There's all kinds of parking down there, what, 30 places, 40? I was down at Cessna this morning, and really nice job they did, but not that much expansion on parking. You're limited with what you got. That's what it boils down to. So you don't need to be changing the regulation that you just adopted 7 months ago. You need to be dealing with how the park is used. One plug for the charter guys, these guys are highly regulated. They're licensed, they're required to have insurance. For the most part, they police themselves on access to the docks. And they've been in the business for decades as a commercial interest. It always happens when something good is going, somebody else wants to get in on the action. And that's what's happened here. So I encourage you to deal with the access and management of the facility you have and leave things alone.
Thank you. Come on. You're next, sir. Here, yeah, come on.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for putting
Give
on
me your
this
name.
forum. My name is Randy Hunter, and I represent Real 30A. And I thought today, I've heard a lot of really good ideas come out of here. I think the thing that I'm seeing that I wanted to address, I'm an advocate of Pilcher needs another look because of the issues with launching there in springtime with winds, all the things that have been, that the guys talk about. I think one of the things I want to bring to kind of everyone's attention here is Walton County Tourism, which I love. You do a great job. We're big advocates and big supporters of. You promote fishing as part of your purpose in South Walton, and we've been fortunate enough to be part of that for a number of years, and we appreciate that. But that also triggers more tourism, more interest, more people wanting to have charter experiences in Walton County. And so, it's incumbent on you as managers to think about ways that you can continue to support that while managing what the public wants as well. I know that's what this is about today. But I think that, thinking through, strategically, long-term, how we can create more opportunities for more operators to continue to operate, to support things that help tourists when they come here do things other than go to the beach, okay? That's what people want. I see people, I've lived on 30A for a number of years, and the thing that I see, that people come here for the beach, but they don't always necessarily experience the beach. The beach is a piece of what they do, and I think that Walton County Tourism has identified that with a lot of their research. And so I read, having been in the marketing and advertising business in my career, I read a lot of research. So for me, I zone into that. And so you've done a really good job of that. And fishing, tourism, and even the pontoon rental is a piece of that. So how do we go forward and equitably create a solution that, is fair to what the public wants, but it's also fair to the commercial business operators that need to make a living, because it is a trigger from, all the development of the Verbo generation of building houses that are basically hotel businesses that rent to people. That it's all great, creates a lot of revenue, but it also has a systemic problem associated with it, And this is really like the law of unintended consequence here, the way that I see it. So a couple of things that I heard today that I wanted to really just point out, that if I got my numbers right, in 2023, there were 78 permits, and 27 of those were pontoon. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, the pontoon is a permit, but that's not the number of boats, right? That's just the number of permits.
Number of boats.
That's okay.
Each boat has to have a permit.
Got it, okay. So, and in 2024, 60 permits and 26 were pontoons.
Correct.
That's correct. So, that's not an upward trend, that's a downward trend. So I think that that's something that we need to identify. And then, the second part of that is, to me, is that, owning a charter boat and running it, you don't get rich running a charter boat. You make a living at one boat, two boats, but there's a lot of expense to doing it, and there's a lot of overhead and operating, insurance, licenses, taxes, boat maintenance, fuel, all those things. Boats are expensive to own. If you own one personally, like I do, and you own one for commercial, we all know that. So, it's a support business to the community. Some things that I see that I think need to be addressed are other operator pickup out of Okaloosa County in particular. I've seen that happen over and over again at Cessna. It happens, it's been identified. We need to figure out a way to stop that. I think maybe you need to look at maybe a solution would be, maybe there's no commercial in Cessna on certain days. Maybe that's Saturday. Saturday is a peak day for a lot of private residents to use the facility. That's a lot of people work during the week, or that's when they go. The other thing is Saturday is also turnover day for tourism. So because it is turnover day in the high season, that lends itself to a time when, I know in our business, we don't do that many charters on Saturday. So I think adding the west ramps at Pilcher Park, that we need to figure out a way to engineer that and get that done. That would take some load off of all the guys that have to run out of South Walton County. And then maybe we look at moving the launching of the pontoons, no offense to them, just a thought, because they seem to be, the volumes there, it's different than fishing charter operators who are in and out and gone. Maybe move that to a location. Maybe that could be, if you could re-engineer Pilcher Park, maybe that becomes a place where pontoons launch. Not that much incrementally different in distance for them. But it also consolidates that to one space. So those are some thoughts, ideas that I had. And thank you very much for letting me speak.
Mr. Hunter, you mentioned that Saturdays was a problem at Cessna. It's been my experience that it's not only Cessna, that the boat ramps are crowded in these other places on Saturday. So if we cut it there, I don't know where that may multiply the.
So I get that, but I think again, commercial charter fishermen, if they're running 2 charters a day, they're up early, they're gone by 6 o'clock, they're out of there. So they're not gonna be, they're in and out, and if they're getting 2 a day in high season, some maybe can get 3 a day depending on their configuration, but.
Yes, but it's the parking, there's nowhere to park.
I understand.
There, so when they park their vehicle and their trailer there, and then their clients park there, then the other citizens that come there to unload their boats after 6 or 7 o'clock have nowhere to park.
Okay. So, I understand that, but, you know, it's still supply and demand. That doesn't happen every day.
That's correct.
So,
Thank you.
so one other question to that, if just a rebuttal to that, I guess, not really a rebuttal. But, you know, if it were just all private residents that clogged up the park, what would be your solution? And there weren't commercial operating out there.
Well,
You
I
still
think
have the same kind of problem.
The parks are designed for the public, not commercial operations. So I don't think, I mean, there would be no, we'd be doing the best we could at that point.
It
I
goes back-
understand that, but as a commercial operator and also a citizen, I mean, I'm both. So,
Yeah, if you were there with your personal boat, then that would be different than if you were there with your
Understand.
commercial.
okay.
Mr. Hunter, you made a comment about tourism promoting fishing and that is justification for providing venue for commercial entity to make profit. We also promote restaurants, retail, obviously short-term rentals and all that. Should we be also providing them space for commercial gain?
No, and I didn't really say it the way you said it, but I just said that that
You said it
tourism-
exactly like I
Tourism,
explained it.
well, no, that's, okay.
What does Real 38 do?
Real 38 does charter fishing. It's a lifestyle brand. It has products that sell in other retailers.
So
as
you're a
well.
charter fisherman on the bay?
On the bay?
Yeah, are you a charter fisherman on the bay?
Yeah, we have a boat that runs on the bay. We're a back bay charter fishers.
Do you also fish on the beach?
We do.
Surf fish?
Yeah, so,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Mark Holmes, HOLMES. Just as Hunter, a lot of the captains have said, John had said, maybe you guys should have someone who knows about bareboats come in and talk for your next meeting, like someone in the Coast Guard. Because obviously a lot of these guys have done a lot of stuff being as captains. I have my captain's license as well too. It takes a lot of money, a lot of effort, a lot of time. So there's people on the other side where the rental companies who are saying bareboats not legal, loopholes, this and that. Maybe you guys should have someone come in who actually knows the law, because I think the captains are a little bit more on the correct side. So that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to start again. Wait, hang on before you come up. We got one Zoom caller. We need to get him on. So let's do him. Where do we, oh, there he is. Mr. Bacon, can you hear us?
Hear me now?
Yes. All right, go ahead and tell us what you want to say.
Yeah, all right.
There you go.
Tell me when the presentation's up, please. Can you guys see it?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so, guys, approximately 50 miles of Choctawhatchee Bay coastline is in Walton County, but there are only 2 commercial marinas, of which neither cater to our type of operations. Now, just a few points through this meeting too. Brian, you asked about the 3,700 feet of property on Hogtown Bayou. That was owned by my brother and my late brother and his sister up until a month ago. He tried for over 20 years to permit that property to do stuff with, and because it's so much wetland, it wasn't allowed. Okay? Now, other neighboring counties have numerous commercial marinas supporting charter fishing and pontoon boat rentals. Now, if we could get out of the county's
Mr. Bacon,
property,
Mr.
I
Bacon.
would be out tomorrow.
Mr. Bacon.
I've approached people.
Mr. Bacon,
Hello?
who provides and pays for those commercial marinas in our surrounding counties?
Excuse me?
Who is built?
They're privately owned. Like if you go to Destin, you can rent a dock space in Destin. You go to Bay County, you can rent a dock space. There's only 2 that I know of, commercial marinas that I know of in Walton County, which is Sandustin and the deep water one over and the new one they're building over in what is it, in Alaqua, or whatever the bayou is up there.
So the other marinas you're talking about are privately owned, designed, permitted, funded, and maintained by private concern for commercial gain.
In other counties is what you're saying?
That's what I'm asking you, because you're using that as an example
Yeah.
as to
Well,
what
but
we should
yes,
be
I mean,
doing. The only difference
Brian,
is
go-
you're asking for the county to provide those facilities for private industry to have commercial gain. Do you think that's correct?
But we don't have any other choice, is what I'm trying, what.
You do
the
have a
point I'm
choice,
making is-
Mark. You do have a choice. You buy land that is appropriate to design, permit, and build the facilities for your commercial industry.
Okay, Brian, I've approached people with other commercial property, like Lloyd Blue that has the Bay Restaurant and things like that, and the commercially zoned property. I've approached these people and unwilling to do business with us,
Good.
okay?
That's a great start.
All right?
Sorry to
So
interrupt.
I've tried, Brian. I don't like having to rely on the county either, but, it's just a reality of the situation, all right? Now, subject matter experts qualification. I'm a U.S. Coast Guard licensed oceans master. I have a master's degree in marine operation management. I'm a Lloyd's certified marine warranty surveyor. I have 15 years of worldwide experience as a vessel master, and I have 29 years worldwide experience managing marine operations, marine construction, port design, and port operations for major oil companies such as Chevron, ConocoPhillips, Exxon, and Shell. Okay? So in previous meetings, some of the BCC members have indicated that the commercial activity should be prohibited at Cessna and has suggested Pilcher or Grady Brown parks as alternatives. A term fetch is designed as a distance a wind can travel unobstructed across water. The greater the fetch, the larger the wave that will be wind generated. Pilcher's non-existent and Grady Brown's inadequate breakwaters do not prevent large fetch generated waves from impacting the ramps and docks. Cessna, however, is protected from all quadrants. Operations out of Pilcher and Grady Brown can be a safety hazard for both equipment and personnel during certain wind conditions. So if we look at Pilcher Park, no breakwater whatsoever. Okay, next slide, please. So if we look at Pilcher, you can see waves up to nearly 2 foot if you get a wind out of the east at Pilcher Park. Okay, next slide. Grady Brown, there's no breakwater to the west on Grady Brown. So what does that mean? So there is up to 24 miles of fetch that the wind can generate seas or waves for entering Grady Brown from certain directions. The computer models show that you can build a wave up to 3.5 feet before it hits Grady Brown. Next slide. Cessna is the safest all-weather location for launching vessels and embarking, disembarking passengers. Cessna is a short-term problem. The current modifications will add 216 feet of dock space, and the new park at the end of 13th Street is expected to be operational in 2026. Now, Brian, from what I heard you say earlier, that might not be the case. And Cessna can be managed to accommodate the need of all users. So, Cessna and the new park location. Okay? Possible Cessna mitigations. A full-time attendant during peak season. Commercial operators would pay yearly usage fees, continue to pay the yearly usage fees. And that includes people that are embarking or disembarking passengers, not just those of us that launch there. All users to pay a launch fee for each time a vessel is launched. Now, I know this will make the public up in arms, but if you go down to Joe's Bayou boat ramp in Destin, that is exactly what they do. They charge, I think, it's $20 to have an attendant there for each time somebody launches, and it works. Joe's Bayou launch works, okay? People will launch or recover their vessels and immediately depart the ramp area. Commercial operators, where possible, park vessel trailers off-site. I know a lot of us pontoon boat operators, we already park our trailers off-site. And commercial operators, launch vessels, embark passengers, and depart. Disembark passengers and recover the vessel. No standing by the docks. Now this is a big one too. Recover the vessel, then clean fish. A lot of people will come in there not just commercial, but the public, Joe Public also will come in there, tie their vessel up and spend 30 or 45 minutes cleaning fish with the boat occupying dock space, you know, and keep the park clean. Even if it's not your trash, you know, pick it up. And the county to consider purchasing adjacent properties to expand all park amenities. So here are the new piers that have been spoken about recently. I think they're 8 feet wide by 50 foot long each, the existing, the new piers. And the last slide. And this is the property that is currently for sale adjacent to Cessna Landing that would add 2 acres to the park if the county was able to make a deal for this property. Okay? Now, I had a couple more comments, to a couple of things to comment on. There was a comment made about liability waivers. We do all our liability waivers online. They're actually done before the vessel even reaches the park. So our customers for pontoon boats come down, get on board, and leave. Okay? There's been talk about going back to the original ordinance that required the company owner of the vessel to be a licensed captain. That's not a problem in my case. Some of them are not. But the other problem is they're going to require a captain on each vessel. Now, what does that mean? So for us pontoon boats, they are what they're called uninspected vessels, all right? So the U.S. Coast Guard says that I can put only 6 passengers on an uninspected vessel, all right? To get that vessel to be inspected, to be an inspected vessel, it has to be built to start with by plans approved by the U.S. Coast Guard. The Coast Guard inspects it throughout the entire build process. It's a long and arduous process, and there are very few pontoon boats that have that sort of certification, and it's what they call an inspected vessel. Now, so what it does, right now that we are regulated by the FWC, to say we're unregulated is untrue. We are regulated by the FWC that you know, we buy our permits from and do all our regulations. You know, all of our pontoon boats, people were talking about 17, 18 people on pontoon boats. The U.S. Coast Guard on a bareboat charter, on a bareboat situation, only allow us to put 12 passengers on one of these boats. Insurance, the county, I think with the county's requirement, you ask us to have $50,000 or $100,000 worth of insurance. Myself, I carry $1 million per incident and $2 million aggregate insurance on my vessels. So, thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon.
Mr. Bacon, I have a couple questions. You showed a diagram there, the 2 acres that's for sale. What did you indicate that could be used for?
Oh, I mean, they could be used for various things. It could be used, I mean, one of the issues that we talk about here is parking, okay? You know, some of it could be used for parking. It could be used to expand the park's facilities, maybe larger basketball courts. If you look down there, people are always using the basketball courts and the playgrounds for kids and stuff like that. You know, I mean, if you look at some of the other parks the county has done, like Helen McCall Park and things like that have nice facilities. I mean, with additional 2 acres, some of that could be done to be used to build those sort of things for public also.
And you also said that some of the boats tie up and clean fish for 30 to 45 minutes. Is that right?
Yes.
That must be the guys that don't launch there, probably, I'm guessing.
Well, no, I mean, you know, I cannot comment whether it's the guys that launch there or not, but, you know, boats do occupy the dock space while they're cleaning fish instead of taking their fish off, pick up the boat. Now, like I said, not commercial, or I'm not saying it's commercial or public people, but people just tie up there, clean their fish, then recover their boats. You know, with an attendant there, the attendant would make sure that, hey, you know, recover your boat, then clean your fish.
Yeah, it's not somebody that's going home, they're going back fishing apparently, right? I guess.
Excuse me?
I guess it would be somebody that's not going home, they're probably going back fishing that would do that. Is that right?
Well, I mean, that, or, I mean, you know, given the choice, I mean, I'm gonna clean my fish at the dock. I mean, you know, the thing is, if I don't clean the fish at the dock, what am I gonna do with the fishing offline? You know, you got a hose, you got a nice fish cleaning table there and everything else. I mean, it's set up to clean fish. Not many people at home have that opportunity or have that set up.
Yeah, I guess
You know,
you're
if you
right.
like me, I go home and have to clean fish on top of the cooler, you know,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, I'd personally do it at home to keep from tying everybody, being in everybody's way, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Bacon.
Thank you.
All right, come on.
Just a quick question. Who owns the ends of the road, I guess? Like the end of 393, the end of East Hewitt, Bay Circle off East Hewitt. Those all have boat ramps at the end of them. They were concreted at one point. Who put them there? Because they're public roads.
They're actually just public road right-of-ways that dead end into the bay. And sometime a long time ago, before rules and regulations were put out there to be followed, or people chose not to follow them and enforcement wasn't around, concrete was added to facilitate boat landing. More than likely, I would venture a guess they're not permitted public facilities as far as construction. Okay, they were just put in. Many decades ago, being a rural county, it was fairly easy to do stuff like that. You know, not much population here, obviously not much regulation, be it local, state, or federal. The reality is now permitting water-based facilities, particularly components that go into the water of the state of America. So it's regulated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It is hard. It's not easy to do, and a lot of times it's simply not permitted at all. A breakwater was explored at Pilcher Park. Due to permitting time and cost, it was decided that the marina that was built there would be built like it is. Another problem with Pilcher Park is the county does not own that land. We have a MOA with FDOT, Florida Department of Transportation, who owns the land, and they have a say-so as to what can be built there. So while it seems easy, just build a marina. It's not as easy as you think it is. And, you know, when I was offering up rhetorical questions to the fellow before that has the 34 acres, I was trying to get to the point that when you're in business, you have a business plan. That business plan includes the cost of doing business, cost of goods sold, minus, or, you know, subtracted from the revenue you make, and that's your profit. At some point, you have to determine, is this business plan still viable? When your business plan includes a public venue that you don't pay for except for a nominal, arguably a processing fee, you have to be prepared as a business owner to make adjustments when the owner of that facility has to make adjustments to make sure that that facility is used for its intended use. That's why I kept making the point as people came up and were trying to express their argument that the county should provide this for this commercial entity. There's no other businesses in Walton County that we provide a venue for commercial interest. We do have other places where commercial interests do get to do business on them, our public beach accesses, because we've identified that there is a need for that service. We could easily do the service ourselves, just like we pick up the garbage ourselves. We don't pay somebody to pick up our garbage. We've chosen not to do that, but there needs to be an understanding that county government has a responsibility to acquire, develop, and maintain facilities for the good of the public. While there is a component that this commercial interest caters to that is public, it is still a commercial interest, and it should perform and abide by the rules and regulations and common practices of all commercial interest.
can't argue with that. That's, I mean, that's a good point as far as, use of public land. I mean, that's a very good argument. So, but I got a question for you though.
Yes, sir.
That might, resolve some of the pressure on the launch part.
Okay.
Can you move the cleaning station off of the launch area, since the parking's probably gonna be more on the fingers?
So
there's
we
the
can
slope-
look at it, you know, we
Okay.
have other problems associated with that fish cleaning station.
Yeah, there are.
And I have offered up some solutions to it. And so, you know, the fish cleaning station was put there as a convenience. It has become a problem. Just as the one at Grady Brown is a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, when I launch my boat at Grady Brown now, I have to wade through fish remnants.
Yeah,
I have to keep my dog from eating fish remnants. And I
That's-
shouldn't have to do that.
No.
The people that use that facility, that fish cleaning table, they should maintain the remnants.
Yes.
They should provide a vessel to put them in, and they should tote them off and dispose of them properly.
Well,
I mean,
I'm
if
not
this-
arguing taking it away. Cause I mean, I wanna use it too, but I'm just saying, if you're gonna you probably don't wanna obstruct, you need launches and make
Mm-hmm.
it smoother. An attendant being there could kinda say, hey, this, you know, but if there's not one there around the launch area, but there's one more that's
We're
still
gonna take a
accessible.
look at, yeah, we got some work to do after our contractor gets finished to
That's
make
me,
some more improvements.
that's me as a citizen. Let me say this as an entrepreneur. I'm staying away from this whole thing as an entrepreneur to wait to see what everything happens and how it plays out. But I do want to ask this, considering the ordinance. If I do decide, okay, I want to get back in this, I want to see about purchasing a couple of boats. I want to get a couple center consoles. I want to get a couple of pontoons. I want to be on both sides of this because, hey, I'm a citizen and I want to earn an income here like everybody else is doing. I decide I'm not gonna be on the water. I don't wanna be on the water when there's people renting boats and there's activity and things like that. If I wanna go on the water, go on the water by myself, I don't wanna operate. I do have, and I actually do have friends that are boat captains. And, and they're licensed captains, all of them. I wanna let them run my pontoon boats as the ones that wanna just do activities on the, pontoons as the bareboat charter, which Mark was describing is a legal activity. And also the, fishing charters is a legal activity. I got a couple of friends that would also be happy to do that. As an entrepreneur buying 4 boats right now, does this ordinance affect me because I don't have a, charter, license? I'm not a licensed captain. I'm just a equity owner in the boats. And can I allow people that don't own those boats to operate those? That's what's confusing to me about this ordinance.
Yes, and we understand that, but you, to get the license, the permit, you have to be a licensed captain.
I've had the permit twice and I'm not.
Okay, so you're a licensed captain.
No.
So, Kim, isn't that correct? You have to be a licensed captain?
No, I don't have it this year. I'm out of
Yeah, 'cause
the business.
It changed, yeah,
Prior to the ordinance.
that's
Okay.
right, yes.
So, but
it
now,
did
with the
change.
ordinance changing, I can't own
Well,
vessels
if-
and
if so-
operate if I'm not a licensed captain. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
So, so let me ask you this. So if if I'm a licensed captain, can I have more than one boat?
Yes,
And someone that doesn't have the registration can launch it?
yeah, you can hire a captain.
They're
too.
not, but it says in the ordinance, you have to be the owner as a
to
permit
get the
holder, or
permit.
launcher, and operator.
Yes, you have to be the owner to get the permit. The permit has to be in the owner's name.
Okay, so I just go get a 6-pack and I'm golden.
Well, if you get a permit,
Yeah.
Christian,
Do you see where I'm going with this?
well, like in everything else, you have local and state regulations.
Yes.
All right, so boat livery, boat rental is also regulated by Florida Statute 327.
Yes.
I would read up on that.
I have.
Once again, that is part of a business plan. You have to equip yourself with all the regulations that may affect you
Mm-hmm.
and be, aware and ready to adjust when those regulations change.
Yes, I agree.
I'm a Florida certified contractor. I don't have the benefit of telling the Florida Building Commission that, hey, I can't put up with you changing in this thing. It's going to put me out of business. You think they give a crap about that? They don't.
Yeah. Oh,
They say, no, sir, you have to adjust.
Yeah.
Because we are the regulatory authority. And so the questions you're asking, I understand where you're going with it. But what you need to do is if you do plan on getting in business, I would fully, investigate, research, and make sure I understand the rules and regulations that affect me. If there's a discrepancy between a state and local regulation,
Right.
I would inquire with both regulatory authorities to find out who has final jurisdiction. There are a lot of cases in our county where we have been exempted from local rule because of a state regulation.
Sure.
Shark fishing, for instance. We have a code that says you can't shark fish. State law says people can shark fish.
Right.
They have certain things they have to abide by, but it says they can still do it.
Well, I'm asking those questions not because I'm not willing to adapt. I'm just trying to find out if I'm an entrepreneur and want to get into this, how do I navigate the ordinances and the things that you guys are setting up here locally? I've done the state, the Coast Guard, and all that research. I spent months before I even got involved and got in this, and I'm out of it now. But as a citizen, I'm both a citizen and a previous boat owner, and operated as a rental. But I see both sides of it, and I've actually been hit up a few times to continue on in this business. I'm just staying away right now until I see where all the chips fall.
My general advice is to develop a business plan like everybody else develops a business plan.
Yep.
I have an interest. I think I can make money at it. I develop a business plan. I hire legal counsel to make sure that I'm not getting myself into risk and liability. Or if I don't have that kind of money, I assume it myself.
Sure.
But I also have to understand that there are local, state, and federal regulatory authorities that are going to affect my ability to do business.
Yep, that's what I'm just trying to get a clarification on, how do I navigate that ordinance as an owner, if I were to buy boats?
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to find out.
This is what people call me all the time with, Brian, how do I do this? And I say, the first thing you need to do is make sure you're in the know before you go ask the question from a government official.
Yeah, I'm in the know with everything else except for this ordinance.
I know that doesn't bode very well for me,
Except for I don't understand the ordinance as far as pertaining to an ownership of a business and how I can operate. I understand everything else except for the confusion on this ordinance.
Right. I think there's probably a discussion you might need to have with code compliance, the permit authority.
Okay.
And I would equip myself with great knowledge of Florida statute, FWC rules and regulations, how they pertain to what we call boat livery, or what some people refer to bareboat.
Bareboat.
And then I would also understand what a captain's license means and allows me to do in regards to charter boat and boat livery. But all that goes back to responsibility.
When we get through here, get with me, and I'm gonna explain that to you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna explain it to you. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Trey Centerfit. Few things, the barriers, yes, I think they could be improved. You never heard any crying from me when my boat got destroyed over there. Not completely destroyed, but it suffered damage over there at Pilcher prior to the modifications. And still this day, if you get the right wind, yes, it's, the way those pylons are done, yeah, I'm out $5,000–6,000, but luckily I'm insured. So that could be addressed. To alleviate parking, what's the possibility of overhead parking in some areas? I understand there's some limitations with land use and stuff. That's an idea. The other one is, you've got these walk ramps, whatever, for Cessna. I haven't even looked at Cessna. I dread even thinking of going to Cessna and launching my boat. I do charter fishing as well as I do pleasurable fishing for myself. I just don't like Cessna. Sure, it's great for convenience and other locations, but what about fish cleaning stations? Yes, I see we have some tables and that kind of thing. The concerns that we have about fish carcasses floating around and that kind of things, yes, you can poke the eyes out and they sink, okay, but yes, they're still there. What about enhancing the fish cleaning areas? I've been to Texas and they've got a great thing going there. They got stainless steel tables caged in with fence fabric, overhead roof, lighting, stainless steel tables, even if it's just one table. And they got a garbage disposal. I understand the concerns about a garbage disposal and children getting in there, but carcasses, they're not gonna be floating. They're gonna be shredded, discharged into the water. That's an idea. I saw that a couple of years ago in Texas. I thought, man, that would work great over here, I think. fence fabric around it, roof overhead light, stainless steel table, and the daggum hoses make them out of something besides rubber. It seems like every time you go to Pilcher, somebody's taking the daggum hose at the wash station. They're gone, even at fish cleaning benches. But maybe a stainless steel faucet head coming out with stainless steel flex hose or something or other. JB will to do it, whatever. I think that would be great. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is Matt Poff. Resident of Walton County for over 10 years, in the area here over 35. Anyway, I'm coming as a private citizen here. I do operate some of the pontoon boats on a as-needed basis. And one of the things that I think is kind of a semi-urgency, and that is the idea that everybody right now is getting ready for the season, getting their boats ready, turrets set up, maintenance and all that, and also gearing up for everything they need to physically operate their business. So obviously timing is important here to allow that to happen. And with the recent changes and the additional docking space at Cessna, perhaps we could kind of keep the way we did things last year, roll into this coming season, and observe how that works out. There's a lot of effort to move cars or trucks and trailers off of the lot to not take up the space that obviously is critical, and that's a lot of effort went into that. Also, a lot of us folks that operate these boats do park in that other area, the Arts Center, that parking area, to leave some of the other people space up near the front, so they don't have to be inconvenienced by an additional walk. For me, no big deal. And the idea of the captain's license seems, I don't know, kind of ridiculous actually, in that the Coast Guard, I made multiple calls to Coast Guard and querying them about the bareboat rental ins and outs, and got their answers from them, so I appreciated their time in doing that, and having one of their representatives, either from Destin or Panama City, come down and maybe explain that might be beneficial and an education for everybody. So as it is right now, it appears as that one particular, I'll call it side of the pontoon versus the boat, the bay type charter, are being favored versus the other the commercial operation, in that the bareboat company can't really operate with that requirement. So essentially, by having that requirement, you're basically dictating which commercial companies can operate and which ones can't. So that's kind of just what I want to summarize there. And
Thank you.
thank you for your time.
Mr. Brooks, did you want up? Come on.
Hi, Tabitha Howard again. So this was done in June of 2024, correct? For 7 months. Who was to enforce this?
Code compliance enforcers do it.
And who's that?
That's code compliance.
Who's who's the director of code compliance?
That would be me.
That would be you.
That's correct.
Correct. And then Michael, you work for them as well. But was this not enforced with intent? And knowing that we were going to come back in January, so that, I mean, was this not enforced when the ordinance was done? Why wasn't it enforced?
It is enforced.
So then Mr. Knapp wasn't working then during the summertime. So when this came in effect in June?
No, when this went into effect, a prorated permit was issued to Mr. Knapp to operate through October.
So we're coming here, this
and-
is the only really topic that we're talking about. This is the only adjustment to the ordinance, is this captain thing. So we're all here to see if Mr. Knapp can stay in business. Is that it?
I mean, you can turn.
That's the only person to me, that's the only argument we have right here. We've got all the boat captains, and then we've got a commercial with the pontoons.
I believe Mr. Bacon was also a pontoon boat.
Oh, okay, well,
And
and I do
we've got-
believe that
we've
having a
got two or
captain
three.
is a good thing, because with safety, I know that it was just mentioned that, well, it wasn't really necessary for pontoons, but I think myself personally, if I'm going out somewhere, I would have a captain, not a stranger with my family. But I just didn't know if, so he had that, so, but we're here in January to, I just didn't know where we were going with this meeting.
Well, we're going with having a workshop because the board directed us to have a workshop. So the board will decide whether they're going to keep it like it is or they're going to make changes to the ordinance. And that'll be left up to the board. The board will decide what they want to do.
Okay, it is a public boat ramp, not commercial though.
I
And I know, and it's very frustrating.
I understand. All right. Hang on just a minute. Mr. Brooks, did you want to come back up? Because I told you you could get some more, you had some more questions you wanted to ask. Do you have them? Okay. All right. Come on. Is anybody not spoke yet that had your hand up? All right, let's let them do it first.
Hello, I'm Abraham Knapp. Just wanted to speak a little bit. I know we've talked about a lot of people have built their livelihoods on something that is owned by the county. But the problem is they've already done it and they've set some sort of infrastructure. So pivoting right before the season is really detrimental to these families coming from a family that's in that. So just, how do I explain this? I think pivoting this fast is going to, again, be detrimental to these kind of people. And if it was possible, maybe forestalling after the season or something like that, so then they're able to pivot and readjust basically their entire livelihood to be able to live, if that makes sense.
Well, that was one of the reasons after the ordinance was passed in June or July, I can't remember exactly, is the reason that we issued the prorated permit to get the pontoon boat rental people through October because they already had
Yes, sir.
rentals on the books. So,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Well, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. All right. Say again?
Does that have a clarification question?
Okay, come on up.
J.B. Hillard again. Clarification, what happens after this committee finishes today as far as the process going forward? Are you going to recommend certain things that come from this committee to the county? Are they going to have an ordinance to be discussed on the 28th? Or is it going to be developed later?
Yeah, we will put together a report of, we have minutes being taken, and we'll put together a report of ideas that were brought, and we will present those to the board for the board to give us direction on any changes, if any, that they would like to make to the ordinance. And then, of course, we would have to work with legal to make those changes and bring it back for passing.
Okay, so what I'm hearing then, the board would probably not have an ordinance on the 28th.
No, because we will have
discuss.
we'll have to get the ordinance together, and then we'll have to advertise and hold a public hearing and all that stuff to pass the ordinance.
Okay.
So I would suspect, not guarantee, but I would suspect it would be the first meeting or so in February before they could pass the new ordinance.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Knapp, come on up. Try to do it quick.
All right, just as I came up, the fishing charters were laughing at me as I walked up. If you couldn't hear that, obviously there's an attack on my business. I've invested $2 million in this business. It's my livelihood. One of the things that's been disappointing is this has been kicked down the road so many different times. Right now, I can't sell my boats even if I wanted to. People can't sell boats in January. It doesn't work that way. One of the things that's disappointing is I had probably 50 vacation rental companies that were willing to show up at meetings. I had probably over 100 people that were willing to show up, but I gave up calling them. I gave up contacting them. They haven't been here to voice their concerns. My question is, is there a way for those people, right now, you just have a bunch of fishing charters mad at the pontoon rental companies. That's all you're hearing. You're not hearing from the community. You're not hearing from the locals that are using this boat ramp. You're not hearing from the 50 vacation rental companies that use our services so they don't have to send people to Destin. You're not hearing from the hundreds of locals that want to use this because they don't want to go to Destin, and they also can't have a, you know, if you live in this community, you can't own a boat. I mean, you can, but you're going to pay $200 for storage. So the question is, can we take all these emails and letters and everything that have been sent and use that? Because right now, this is very one-sided. And I
Yeah,
don't-
and I understand that, but just, you know, keep in mind that the board, I'm sure, is getting a lot of input from a lot of different people. So one of the things we do is have a workshop so that we can hear from the public. We can't make somebody come to the workshop, but those people you're talking about could have come to the workshop and offered up any suggestions that they wanted as well. And then when we put a report together for the board, we'll present it to the board, and they'll decide if they'll give us direction from there.
One of the things you'll notice in this room, it's all owners or individuals that are directly associated with their fishing charter or pontoon rental company. There's not vacation rental companies, they don't have time to attend meet. Right now, I've asked at least 6 times to attend one of these meetings. They gave up. They don't know if this one's really gonna take place or whatever, and I don't think it's fair to have one side of the equation, giving all the input, owners of one side of the equation, and I'm a solo guy that my entire livelihood, I have 6 children, I have 20 people on my payroll list between independent drivers of the boats, my staff, and even comments that were made about boat charters are not accurate. You know, the fact that there's probably, I would say 75% of the boat rental companies in Destin, the person that owns those companies didn't have a captain's license. They don't, you know, I can't even if I own, I'm not allowed to be on my own boats if I even do have a captain's license. So me having a captain's license, what impact does that have on me being able to put a boat on the water? It doesn't, really.
Do you have one of the livery permits?
Yeah, I'm permitted. I have all the livery. I go through all the state and federal rules. If I was doing something illegally, I'd have been shut down day one.
Yeah.
So I'm insured. I've got probably more insurance than anybody in the room. I'm a 5-star rated company. I have people in this community. They love the fact that they don't have to drive all the way to Destin.
Yeah,
They
and I
love that
understand
we can be here, and I've provided solutions. I think we need to see this.
And we've got those noted, and like I said, we will put a report together for the Board of County Commissioners that gives them some ideas of, this is also being streamed. The board can go back and view this if they want to, so they will hear what everyone's had to say, I can assure you. So it's gonna be up to the board to decide if they wanna make changes to the ordinance, and if they do,
By the way,
we can present changes to them, but they will tell us what they want us to put in the ordinance.
Just so you know, in the last meeting, the board members actually said this ordinance was no longer in effect. It was actually, you can go back and watch one of the board meetings, they said that they eliminated the ordinance. And that was actually on file, I remember noting that, so, just for
Okay.
additional.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate all your.
Yes, sir. All right, you had, this one hadn't been up, so let's let him talk.
My name's Nick Tate. I'm a licensed Coast Guard captain. Pretty much everything that's been discussed, been kind of nailed on the head. My only concern is, like Ms. Tabitha said, she said safety. I want to bring up an incident from August 9th through one of the pontoon rental companies. All this is stated through text messages, phones, FWC. I think we can really benefit from having captains operating these vessels. I'm pretty much an offshore charter out of Cessna. I live a block from there. I was coming back on August 9th, and the pontoon company that actually was involved was Mr. Bacon's company that does the jet ski rentals. There's 2 sailboats, now there's one, because I guess one's up on the bank at Hogtown from, getting off anchor. A double charter, jet ski charter was out there playing around the sailboat as I'm coming in through the channel. I also launch a 33-foot center console out of Cessna. I booked 320 trips this year. A mother and a 10-year-old son came out from behind the sailboat from my left side, which should have yielded to me. I was running 40 mile an hour going into that channel. Had to shift all the way to the reverse. Never saw them cross under my hull. My customers are getting up yelling. They look at me and tell me to calm down, tell my customers to calm down, stop yelling. The only thing that saved their life that day was me getting off a plane so fast and an inrush of water pushing that jet ski, missing, killing the mom and son by a quarter inch. And the thing about it is, and I have phone records from Mr. Bacon, the 10-year-old son was driving that jet ski with the mom hanging off the back with no control. And, like I said, got the FWC involved. I'm down 15, 16 grand in lower units on my offshore boat. Call FWC, call 911. They can't even make a report because I didn't kill nobody that day. Called Mr. Bacon, he got me in direct with his stepbrother, brother, whoever it is. Met me at Cessna Landing and said, I can't do nothing for you, you should have killed him. If that's how we need to operate business, now I'm down $16,000 to not have somebody dead on my watch. And that could have been alleviated by a little information, a little knowledge, how to operate a vessel. That's the main channel in and out of Cessna. You shouldn't be nowhere near that anyways. The biggest complaints I see is, us charter guys hogging up the ramps. I live a block from that ramp. I would love to leave my boat in the water every day and just hop on it every day. There's a sign there that says, hey, no overnight docking. I can't tell you how many times this year I've watched multiple out-of-town boats and Florida registered vessels sit there for 2 to 4 days at a time overnight and nothing ever be done about it. I don't hear complaints of, any argument of, hey, it's one side this way, one side this way. I believe everybody should have an opportunity to earn a buck, and we can all work together as a company. But what happened on August 9th could have very easily went the other way or could have been avoided by this ordinance right here. And I'm shaking trying to tell you, I can still see the kids' eyes, and that could have been under my belt the rest of my life.
Yep.
Out there having fun, whatever. But
Well, we're glad you didn't, you did what you did and didn't hit them, so.
yeah,
Appreciate
the
it.
FWC basically told me,
But-
they have an accident report that's on file available to anybody. But I have to suffer those damages, and I can't even file insurance on those damages because there was no accident report.
Right.
The only way there could have been an accident report, like Mr. Bacon's brother said, if I ran them slap over with a 12,000-pound vessel. I offshore fish. I also have an inshore, captain, boat, whatever. That could have very easily went the other way. And, if you had
Yeah.
a U.S. Coast Guard captain, he would have knew, hey, not to pull out from the left,
Yeah. All right, well, we appreciate you giving us that information. One thing I would say, if you do see a violation, people can't be everywhere all the time, so
Yes, sir.
we would encourage you to go to our website and put a complaint in so that we
Okay.
can go out there and take care of it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
guarantee you we will.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Have you spoke yet? No. Okay, come on.
Bear with me, not a good public speaker.
It's all right.
My name's Wade Lehman. I own probably the smaller of the pontoon rental companies.
How many boats do you have?
2.
Okay.
I'm the face of the company, basically. I'm the one who puts the boats in, talks to people. My sister does all our online booking and all that stuff. So I make it as quick and easy for everybody as possible. Most of our paperwork's all done online. Everybody follows all Florida state regulations, either voter's ID cards or they're over the age limit. I bring the boat there right before people are supposed to show up, drop it in. I park for a couple minutes, talk to people. I have to do one form in person with them, send them on the way, make sure everybody's comfortable, everything, and I'm out of there. I don't hog up any spots, nothing like that. The biggest thing with the captain's requirement, something that has been talked about, I deal a lot with citizens. I live in this county, and I rent boats to a lot of people that live in this county. And we do a lot of business word of mouth. And I rent quite a bit of boats to people that live right around Cessna. And they used to own boats, either they can't afford them anymore, or don't want the maintenance, upkeep, all that stuff. So I've become pretty friendly with a lot of people that rely on me to be able to go out in the water. So by doing the captain's requirement, I understand both sides of it, but then that also negates a whole side of people that live here that can't enjoy stuff without going to Destin and Panama City to rent boats in any other areas. I think it's kind of unfair. I use the ramp for business and pleasure. I take my boats out myself, my family. So it's multiple sides of the story. A lot
Sure,
of it's one
absolutely.
side, this side, this side,
There
that side.
usually is.
So I just feel like you're kind of throwing a lot of people under with that whole thing that have boating license and everything else and run a boat perfectly fine. And I see all kinds of experience levels there. I may not be the best captain in the world. I've been on boats my whole life. I know how to run a boat. I see people that probably bought their boat the day before and don't know what they're doing. And I see it all. So you just got to remember there is multiple sides to all this. And like I said, I run 2 boats, very small business. If the county said, hey, you guys can't run out of there anymore, does that suck? Yeah, I'd probably lose my ass. Boats, I don't make a ton of money doing it, but invested in a lot, insurance, all that. I understand when you're saying if the county says no, hey, it is what it is. But you gotta look at both sides. So there's multiple business. We're all here to make some money. My livelihood, if they say no, I'm out of work, out of money, so I have to go find something different. So, but just keep in mind, there is also people that do live in this county that I deal with that have told me when this all started, I didn't know the initial meeting in June of last year when everything came out. I didn't know about all this. I came in after the fact. I've been doing it for 3 years. I didn't know you guys were talking about it. So it was kind of a shock to me. But I've had people that I've dealt with, even this year when you gave us the temporary pass to go through October, they were like, we live here, we use you guys.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So that just kind of kicks them out, and they're tax-paying citizens of the county also. That I've never had an incident on one of our boats, never had damage, anything. Nobody's ever gotten hurt. I follow the rules. I've always had permits each way. I think having somebody down there is a good thing, with whatever you guys pass. But having somebody there because I see fishing boats, I see pontoon boats, I see that don't have passes. I spend my money to do everything. I'm on top, I'm on the radar with everybody. I spend all my money for insurance, all this stuff. And there is people that don't have any of it and come in and out of there. And it's kind of unfair in a way, and it does cause more congestion too. But if somebody's conducting business and they don't have the stuff and I'm paying for it, why should I care about them? Kick them out.
Yeah, I agree.
But
All
that's
right,
I
thank you,
wanted.
sir.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, you want to say something else? All right, it's 4:15, so we're fixing to
Yep, real
wrap
quick.
pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, Chris Pelly, nobody here, it's not the fishing charters versus the pontoon boats. All we're wanting to do is whatever charter you are, whatever your hull is, you should be doing it legally. Do me a favor, I just looked this up. If you Google illegal charters Destin, this is from the U.S. Coast Guard News. On July 29th, there was a task force in Destin, Florida on July 20th through 29th through the 30th near Destin, Florida, there was a U.S. Coast Guard-led illegal charter task force. On July 29th, the task force detained the operator carrying 10 passengers aboard a pontoon vessel. Upon boarding, it was discovered the vessel was not certified with the U.S. Coast Guard. Additionally, the operator of the vessel was not properly licensed and failed to enroll in chemical testing program. And there was a bunch of other issues. No one's asking that we get rid of one type of boat or another. It's just, I think, if they're gonna operate, if people are gonna operate out of the county boat ramp, they need to do it legally. They need to have the proper license. That's all I gotta say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Justy White again. I'd like to just clarify some bareboat stuff. What my captains behind me have talked about is true. The story we just heard is true as well. But most likely what happened in that situation was that guy owned that pontoon boat or was employed by the company that owned that boat, and he should not have been operating that boat as an employee or as an owner of that boat. That is not a legal charter. It is absolutely illegal. Bareboat charters are when you, any gentleman here, rents a boat, you then are entitled to hire whoever you'd like to operate that vessel for you. You as the charterer, you have the right to take 12 passengers with you. So we hear a lot about the 12-passenger rule, but it's actually 13 because you as the charterer, you do not count in the 13, but you are entitled to hire whoever you would like to operate that boat for you. These regulations are in Title 46, Part 67 of the Code of Federal Regulations. You can hire someone licensed or not. I don't recommend hiring someone unlicensed, obviously, but bareboat charterers, especially with Mr. Knapp's company, probably up to 25% of his charters hire licensed captains to come and operate their boat under the bareboat charter provisions of Title 46. So it's safer. Every boat, I've had 60 or 80 charters out of there, never once an incident. But we make it safer because professional mariners do that. But some of the information about bareboat charters we heard today is not correct.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
All right. Just a couple more. Now, listen,
Yeah.
again, what we're here today
Yeah.
for is options that we're trying to get, whether somebody was operating a boat illegally or something, has nothing to do with what we're here today for, because we can't do anything about that. So
Okay.
just, if you-
Cody Clausen. If you guys enforce the current ordinance, it doesn't restrict the pontoon boats. All they have to do is apply for a captain's license, and under Coast Guard regulations, they would be limited just to 6, opposed to the 12 passengers permitted on a bareboat charter. But it would also result liability back on the company of the owner. On a bareboat charter, the charteree assumes all liability. So if someone from Atlanta doesn't know how to drive a boat and they crash it into the dock, they are responsible they become the de facto owners of for any accountability in collision.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
And there's somebody in the back here wanted to.
Hi, I'm Justin Jones. I fish. I pick up at Cesta this year. I moved into Hogtown. I used to avoid it and use Pilchard Grady, but it's so close to my house. And I always heard bad things, but watching it every day, it was pretty smooth this year. I only saw issues on like a Saturday or a 4th of July. And it was locals. I think a couple little simple things could solve the roundabout issue, like a little sign saying don't tie up in the actual launch dock. A lot of people don't think about it or know, and that causes a lot of backup. Moving the fish table, even like Destin, at the harbor, you have to take your fish and discard them elsewhere. That's not a big deal to us. We could do that. Just little stuff. We could work with it. If this ordinance, the way it's written, it should solve everything, in my opinion. The stuff we're arguing about would all be gone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Is that it? Anybody up here got anything? Well, we do appreciate y'all coming and attending and participating. Like I said, we will put together what we think came out of this with some ideas, and then we will visit with the commissioners and present those to the commissioners, and then it'll be up to them to decide what they want to do, and then we'll go from there. All right, thank y'all. Yeah.